Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys coming by to check the video out. And I'll do my best to make sure it's worth your while and you can come out of this video learning a really good hardcore hogging tip. Guys, today we're going to be talking about why 90% of the anglers, I think they have this myth that hot water fishing is tough and the bass go super deep in the summertime. This is a myth, and I really want to break that in today's video. And I'm going to talk about one of the most overlooked aspects of fishing during the hottest time of the year. I'm going to give you guys a couple of really good patterns that will work on almost any lake across the country in today's video. I think it's going to add up to some good ones for you in the month of August and early September. Also, guys, speaking of hot water, just wanted to remind you that we have our Fish the Moment summer lake map breakdowns up on the website right now. These are maps I've built for fishthemoment.com. There's really good resources to learn more about your favorite lake, to learn more good spots about your favorite lake or a lake you've never been on. I'll put the Fish the Moment lake map breakdown link in the description. And also, guys, please check out my Tackle Warehouse link. They just had the ICAST show last week. They've introduced all the new products for 2025. They got them up for sale now. If you guys use that link to get you some new tackle, it's a good way to get some new tackle and help the channel out at the same time. Okay, guys, breaking a myth in August. Here's the biggest myth about August bass fishing that I'm going to break, and then I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on how to take advantage of it. The biggest myth is that in hot water, bass go deep. They don't. It's like there's some of the bass that will go deep, but there is a tremendous amount of bass that are in super shallow water. I don't care if the water temperature is 90 degrees. The water temperature has zero impact on those fish being shallow. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video. Now, here's one of the reasons, guys, that you have a large percentage of the bass in August and September that move into shallow water. And I'm talking about water that's less than 3 feet deep. And I don't care if you have this much water visibility or if you have 20 feet of water visibility. It doesn't make any difference how clear the water is in the month of August. I have caught big strings of fish in the month of August where the water temperature is 90 degrees, where it's clear as a swimming pool, and the fish are this deep. I've done it all through the Ozarks here. I've done it out in Lake Mead and some of the desert lakes. And the reason there's so many bass to be caught up shallow that people don't fish for in the summertime is there's so much food for the fish shallow. Think about it, for example, when you're talking about the month of August and you're talking about just the wildlife and the creatures that live close to the water, you've got frogs, you've got snakes, you've got birds, you've got different type of animals, you've got ducks, you've got, lizards, you've got everything that's living in the water. You got crawdads, you got shad, you got minnows, you got chubs. Everything in the summertime of the year when that water's hot is in that shallow water. That's where there's just a lot of life going on. A bass is an opportunistic predator, and they don't care what it is, guys. They don't care if it's a little bird that's in the water or a mouse swimming in the water or a crawdad or whatever. They're going to take advantage of it if it's in that shallow water, and that's one of the reasons that shallow water fishing is not only really good, but it's also overlooked. Now, this isn't to say that there's not a lot of fish out deeper or suspended in the summertime, because there is. But on the channel here, we're not going to tell you guys about how to use a cheater box, and I'm not going to tell you guys about how to put a night crawler on like guides do down here at all the Ozarks Lake and fish vertical for spotted bass. I'm talking about real hardcore hogging, Harry and Charlie type bass fishing techniques we'll go into. So here's how to take advantage of it. A lot of it has to do with the water clarity as far as your techniques that you have, but your water depth that you fish remains the same. Less than 3 feet deep is the whole key element on this. So I really want to break the techniques down in terms of water clarity. So let's talk a little bit about dirty water while moving up to clear water. Now we're talking in August, unless you're fishing up north, you're talking about water temperatures in the 80s, possibly low 90s. And when you're fishing in the summertime, super shallow, the cloud conditions don't make any difference at all. I don't care if it's bright, sunny, bluebird, partly cloudy, raining, or cloudy. It doesn't make any difference. Those fish are still up there and living. Now, granted, if it's a little bit, if it's sunny out, the fish will relate to shade pockets a little bit more, but you don't have to have that. They're still going to be up there. The only determination that you have to make is how to approach these as far as technique-wise and the type of area that you're in. So I'm going to make it really simple for you guys about how to find bass in August and early September. is go to your major creek arms. This is going to be the big deal for that, and just stay in those major creek arms. There's a big population of bass in there, and in my opinion, there are more shallow bass in a major creek arm than there are in smaller coves or on the main lake. I'm not saying they're not out there, but there's a bigger population of them, and there's a lot of different places for them to be. When you're talking about fish being shallow in the month of August, one of my favorite things to do, I don't care if it's dirty water or clear waters, you've got to cover water. And when you get into those major creek arms, don't try to isolate it. Like, don't just run points, or don't try to just run rocky banks or whatever. I literally go into a major creek arm, and here's my favorite techniques. I'll go about halfway back into the creek arm. I'll put my trolling motor down, and I'm going to fish everything. I'm going to fish the main part of the creek. I'm going to go back into every cove, every nook. I'm going to go to the back end of it. I'm going to come out. I'm going to come out on the main arm. I'm going to work my way all the way to the back of that creek. And depending upon how big the creek is, you may not even be able to do it in 2 or 3 days if you have a really giant creek. But that is the number one thing to remember, is you're covering water and you're fishing for these isolated rogue fish that are up, these isolated rogue predatory fish that are up hunting. Literally, that's what they're doing. They're hunting along the shallow bank lines, and that's why you have to cover a lot of water. So if I'm fishing in dirty water, my number one lure is a shallow running crankbait, some type of a small crankbait that runs, 3 or 4 feet deep, little bitty square bill. You guys hear me talking about that Megabass, the the Megabass Z2 crankbait, or the Z1, some small shallow running crankbait. If you've got water visibility of less than 3 feet deep, that's going to be your number one choice in the hot weather of the summertime. The other lure that you're talking about, when the water gets cleaner than 3 feet, it's like I only fish 2 lures when I'm fishing shallow water. One is a little crankbait in the off-color water. The other one is a topwater lure. A topwater lure in the month of August, when the water's 90 degrees, is going to get you some good bites from those predatory rogue fish. And the topwater lure that I fish, there's usually 3 different topwaters. One is a walking topwater, like a Zerespook, Megabass Diamante, some type of a walk-in side-to-side topwater. The other is a buzzbait, which usually works a little bit better later in the summertime. And the third one is a whopper plopper. Normally what I do in the month of August, I really like the Zerespook, because there's still a lot of perch up spawning. And if you're in clear water, that Zerespook will catch a lot of those bluegill feeders. And as you get later, like towards the end of August, like the first couple weeks of September when it's still hot, that's when I transition to the buzzbait. It's like a 1/2 ounce, white buzzbait with a gold blade, and probably either a black or some type of a shad pattern whopper plopper. And I'm just putting that trolling motor down, putting it on 40 or 50, and just covering water, throwing that top water right to the bank, fishing it fast. I'm walking that top water fast. I'm fishing the buzzbait and the whopper plopper fast, covering water, looking for those predatory fish. But that is the way to do it, guys. And like I said, it works everywhere. I don't care if you're in California, or if you're in the Ozarks, or if you're back on the East Coast. This is going to be a way to catch them. And one of the things that will help you a little bit as far as catching them in the summertime like this is look for some type of rocky bank. And the rock can be anything. It can be a bluff, it can be large rock, it can be small rock, it can be baseball size rock, basketball size rock, pea gravel. They just prefer some type of a hard bottom usually for this type of technique, for the shallow cranking and for the topwater lures. So anyway, guys, if you're one of those guys like me that could care less about, using a cheater box to get out there for those suspended fish, or you don't want to, drag a night crawler around on a drop shot, and you don't want to weenie worm around out there in the middle of the lake, put you on some power baits, get you 3 topwaters, shallow running crankbait, get in those major creek arms and go after it. You'll definitely catch some good fish doing that. So hope it helps out. We'll talk later.